Shortly after my son was born, then my husband and I bought a 50-year-old house. It was just the three of us, plus our dog, and the house was full of the usual quirks: creaking floors, rattling pipes, tree branches scraping the windows at night. I grew up afraid of the dark, so every bump in the night put me on edge. But I always told myself it was just the house. After my husband and I split, I kept a house. He kept the dog. One evening, my son and I were watching a movie when my phone died. I went to the kitchen to plug it in, and that's when I felt it. This sinking goosebump chill that told me something was off. I looked out back and froze. Someone was sitting cross-legged in the yard, facing the house. They were still, too still, a hood over their head, sunglasses even though the sun was gone. They didn't move when I leaned closer to the glass, and they didn't move when they knew I'd seen them. I locked the door, grabbed my charger, and messaged a friend online to call the police if I didn't check back soon. Then I called 911 as soon as my phone powered up. The dispatcher told me to look again. That's when I saw it. Our back door was locked, but the dog door was wide open, big enough for a person to crawl through. I stood to get a better look, and there they were. Hood, sunglasses, face pressed against the window, staring straight at me. The dispatcher screamed at me to grab my son and lock ourselves in a room. I scooped him up and started running when I heard it. The dog door creaking open, slow and deliberate. We bolted out the front and into the street. Police found her minutes later. She had been sitting calmly on the back step, her arm pushing lazily in and out of the dog door. That was the night I boarded it shut, but I never trusted that house again.
Back when I was in high school, my parents moved us into an old farmhouse. The place was beautiful but isolated. Big yard, thick woods, and creaky wooden floors that echoed when you walked. The first strange thing I noticed was the attic. The door to it was in the hallway near my bedroom. Sometimes it would be shut, other times wide open. My parents swore they hadn't touched it. One night, I woke up to what sounded like heavy footsteps above me. Slow, careful. I lay frozen in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the creak of someone walking back and forth. When I finally worked up the nerve to check, the attic door was wide open. My dad went up there the next morning and found nothing, but things kept happening. Objects missing, food vanishing, weird smells drifting from the vents. Weeks later, the police came. They'd caught a man in a nearby town who had been living in strangers' attics and crawl spaces. He admitted to staying in our house for months. When I think back to those nights, me lying awake under the ceiling while he stood just a few feet above, I still get chills. I was about 12 when this happened. Our house had a big sliding glass door that faced the backyard. At night, with no curtains, it was like a black mirror reflecting the living room back at us. One night, I was watching TV when I heard it. 3 knocks. Slow. Heavy. They came from the glass. I turned my head, expecting to see a tree branch or maybe my dad outside, but it wasn't. It was a man. His face pressed against the glass, his smile too wide, teeth catching the faint light from the TV. I screamed for my parents. By the time they came running, he was gone. Police searched the yard, but found only footprints in the mud leading up to the glass, then disappearing into the woods. For months, I couldn't sit in that room at night, because every time I looked at that door, I imagined his smile, waiting for me in the reflection. I was driving home late one night after visiting a friend. Empty highway, no other cars, just the glow of my headlights cutting through the dark. About halfway, I glanced in the rearview mirror and my heart nearly stopped. Someone was sitting in the back seat. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks, but no, there was a shadowy figure leaning forward, inches from the back of my head. I swerved the car, slammed on the brakes, spun around. Nothing. The seat was empty. I tried to shake it off as exhaustion, but when I got home and opened the back door, I saw something that made me sick. The seat belt in the middle seat was buckled tight. I never drove alone at night again. When my daughter was born, I kept a baby monitor by the bed, old-fashioned one, just sound, no video. One night, I woke to the crackle of static. Then I heard it, singing, a soft, low lullaby humming through the monitor. I shot out of bed and ran to her room. She was fast asleep. No music. No one there. I grabbed her and rushed back, my heart racing. Over the next few nights, it happened again. Sometimes singing, sometimes whispering. Once, a woman's voice clearly said, "Shh, go back to sleep." I eventually threw the monitor away. But even now, when I hear static, I remember that voice. And I wonder if whoever was speaking ever stopped standing over her crib.